Are you looking to add some growl to your 390 adventure? Then stick around.
Hey, how's it going? Welcome to my channel. If you haven't done it yet, do that thing down below. As you can see, I have the stock exhaust muffler can, whatever you want to refer to it as, here in my hands, and I have replaced it with this, which I'll get into here in a minute. Now, the reason I replaced this is I had gotten really irritated with the normal muffler, the stock muffler. I was having difficulty with the exhaust flange here, keeping it tight with the straight through pipe that I had put on when I removed the resonator. For whatever reason, I just was having difficulty over time keeping it tight. I had to try a couple of different ways to keep it from leaking exhaust and also keeping it clamped down. One of the things that I really needed to do was I needed to move this bracket here down the exhaust a little bit in order to slide this forward in order to get a better clamping area. However, it had rivets in it where the clamp goes around. I didn't want to drill the rivets out, and then I would have holes in the muffler that I would have to plug or patch or put screws in or something. And I thought, you know what, now's a good time to go ahead and do a replacement on the exhaust. So I looked around. I didn't want to spend $400 on a new muffler. So what I ended up doing was I got on eBay and I looked through a variety of different mufflers on there, and I found this one for, I think it came to me shipping from China, of course, for about $170. Now, it's similarly styled after the Akrapovic, but I didn't want something that actually said Akrapovic on it when I know it was a knockoff, so I just went with something that had an off-brand name. Never heard of KO Lightning. It does its job. This exhaust I thought was going to weigh a little bit less than the stock. It doesn't. It's about the same. There's a lot of packing in there. But it does make the bike louder, which I will go into. So I ran into a couple issues that I'll talk about a little bit later in the video on the installation of this, some things I didn't consider. Not a big deal, able to get it sorted out and went from there. I also used my phone and downloaded a sound level measurement app to get whatever the sound levels coming out, the dB levels coming out of the exhaust. With the stock, it was about 70 dB at idle, and then it would bounce up to about 75. It was kind of hard to tell on there, but it was running around 70, just average, and then seeing the deviations was a little bit difficult, but it wasn't as high as I was expecting. I checked it with the new exhaust. I thought it was going to be quite a bit louder, and it was just at idle, it was around 75 dB and bounced up to about 80 when I throttled it. So 5 dB is actually quite a bit more if you look at the scale of that, but at least from hearing it, it wasn't significant, and I like the sound out of it, which I will get into later in the video. So if you're interested in replacing your stock muffler, if you're kind of tired of it like I am and want to get a little bit more flow through it, then stick around and I'll go through the installation and then my final thoughts after getting some riding on it.
All right, this was supposed to be a straightforward installation, take the old one off with the new one on, but I ran into some trouble that I didn't recognize to begin with, and that is the clamp for the original stock sits on the inside of the exhaust, and the clamp for the new exhaust sits right in the center. So there's a gap from where this is supposed to mount that I didn't notice when I was measuring these up. So I had to run to the hardware store to get a longer bolt. I'm gonna have to put some spacers in here to get this properly spaced to fit up. And so yeah, it wasn't a direct replacement like I thought it was gonna be. So I'll get the bolts put in and hopefully get it spaced out right and get it bolted up. All right, this is what I had to do. It's kind of hard to see, lighting's not great in here, but I've got, like, I don't know, if I was to guess, 50 millimeter of spacer in order to line the bracket up, and got it tightened up. It's solid. It'll work just fine. And then down here, the exhaust clamp is a really great clamp, so I was able to get that put on, and this is quite solid. So ran into a couple issues getting this mounted up. Now I need to move the the heat shield over and then drop the luggage down, and then we'll test it out. Ridden about 100 miles today. The exhaust note on this is awesome. It's a little bit louder than what it was before. At highway speeds, 55, 65 miles per hour. This bike is already incredibly loud with the windscreen and my helmet, so this doesn't add that much more. I do hear it, but it's because I'm listening for it. It is awesome through twisties to get on the throttle and just hear the brappy sound that this bike has not had. So from an exhaust note standpoint, I really like it. It does feel a little bit like maybe I've lost a little bit of torque at the lower RPM, but I don't really ride this bike below 4,000 RPM. Once I'm up and rolling, it's 4,000 RPM and up. So I don't ever lug it, but it feels like it gets through those RPMs a little bit faster. Not a big deal. If I'm doing some slow work off-road, I might have to use the clutch a little bit more, but I don't do a lot of technical stuff, so it shouldn't really be that big of a deal. But I do like the exhaust note, and I like how much more solid it is. All right, so if you're interested in changing your exhaust, this is what I did. This is the results I got out of it. So thanks for watching. Get out, do some riding, ride safe, and I will see you out there.